And take us back in time. I want to come back to why you're doing a gap year, but we'll talk about that maybe a little bit after. But let's go back to the start of the HSC. You were keen to get it over with. I know you had all the delays and COVID. So what were your strategies? What were the main strategies you used to stay focused throughout year 12?
I can't study in my house. I could never study in my house. So what I would do every single day, I think I did it every day for about 5 weeks. I went to Marrickville Library and I would book myself study rooms if I could, or I would just go to the library and I would be there from open to close, just studying. And I would get myself a hot chocolate every couple hours as like a reward. And that was what I did for, about a month, 5 weeks to a month before the HSC. And then every day during the HSC as well. I was in the library. If I didn't have an exam, I was in the library. And then when I got home, I didn't study anymore. Once I got home, I would just relax. So like from, like 5:30 in the afternoon onwards, that was like, I didn't do anything. I would just watch TV with my family, or I don't know, go for a run, go to the gym, something like that. My focus thing was to go somewhere to study.
Got it. And when did you learn that about yourself?
I think around year 9 and 10, I'd just be in my house and I'd be like, okay, time to study for this math test. And then I would study and then I would get bored and then I'd put on a show and I'd be like, I can study at the same time. And then I wouldn't study at the same time. And around year 10 was when that started to actually affect like my marks. So then I started going to the park to study, but that doesn't work because there's no internet in the park. So then I started going to Glebe Library, and then they renovated Marrickville Library, and then it was great. So I would just go there.
Okay, cool. And would that be like a solo thing, or would you go with a couple of friends, or you found you had to be like in your own isolated space?
I did both. I went with my boyfriend a lot. I went with my friends a fair bit, but I also definitely went alone. Probably 65% of the time I was alone, and the other 35% I'd be doing work with people.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really good. I think it's really good to work with people, to compare notes, to share, like talk about things with your friends. Also, if you're not really in the mood to study, going with someone who is more in the mood to study would always help me as well. If I knew I didn't want to do any work that day, I'd call up one of my friends that was more dedicated than me, and I'd be like, come, keep me on track.
Yeah, that's good.
And that helped me a lot. So.
And
do
you think you did that for others as well at times when you were in the zone?
Yes, definitely, because I know some of my friends and my boyfriend were less into it than I was. So then I would drag them along. My other friends would drag me along, and we all kind of just went together.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going in a group, like as long as one of you is motivated, as you're saying, like you'll all rise to that a little bit, or you'll get closer there. So it's actually a really good strategy. And you mentioned that you kind of would chill out still. You would still have chill out time. You weren't always studying. How did you hit that balance? And do you look back and think, oh, I could have studied a bit harder, or like how do you kind of reconcile, not having studied all the time, which obviously is a good thing not to study all the time, but where do you find that balance?
I honestly don't think I could have studied harder. I don't think I've ever worked as hard for anything in my life as I did for the HSC. So I'm definitely not disappointed with the amount that I studied. I think having that set on time and off time meant that I could like absorb the information for the day. And if I really had more stuff that I needed to do, obviously I would do it when I got home. Like for some of my German, they got cancelled in the end, but for the German monologues we were meant to do, I would go home and I would do a couple monologues in the night in my house as well. But for the most part, having that like rest zone made me able to relax a lot more when I'd get home and I'd be like, now I don't have to do anything, and it was great. So I think that was, it felt like when I went to the library, I knew that I was much more productive there, so I felt like it was worthwhile, or like it was fine for me to go home and then not do anything when I got home.
Yeah, and as you said before, like that kind of reward system, like you did like micro awards through hot chocolates, and then the macro award is you don't have to study anymore. And it's important to give yourself like a timeout, right? Otherwise there's no end in sight, and that's when people have burnout.
Yeah, and like that's when you start, in the middle of the night, like sitting there rocking, holding all your past papers, like losing your mind. So that I think was how I avoided that, was just the hot chocolates and the getting home to just kind of do nothing. I would run around Sydney Uni actually a lot.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I would come and run down the oval near the medical building.
Yeah. College oval? Yeah.
Yeah, I would just run laps around that sometimes. And that was good. That was really good too.